Hi, everybody. I'm Geraldo Rivera. In the next few minutes, you'll be meeting a group of street children. These kids live in Bolivia. It's one of the poorest nations in the Western Hemisphere. Some, like street children in other countries, are homeless and desperate. Others, though, have families, and they work in the streets to support them. This is a story about those children, and about a remarkable program that's turning their lives around. It's called Project Tomorrow. La Paz, the city of peace. It sits on the crest of the Andes in central Bolivia, an old and proud city. But La Paz is also a city caught in economic decline, and it's a city of hungry families. For every boy Project Tomorrow helps, there are hundreds, perhaps thousands, it cannot reach. Some live in the streets and sleep wherever they can, barely surviving the cold nights in La Paz.
We live on the streets because we have no other place to live. There are a lot of children in our families and they don't have room for us. The street is our escape.
The longer a boy like Carlos lives in the streets, the more likely he is to use drugs. Street kids sniff glue or turpentine. The more hopeless he perceives his situation, the greater his dependency becomes. The chance for a new way of life becomes more and more remote. Change seems almost impossible.
This was the American dream in 1932. And this was the reality. A tubercular mother and her daughter. Childhood joy was as scarce as food. In New York City alone, 20% of the children suffered from malnutrition. One mother in New York admitted that she had drowned her 4-year-old son because I couldn't feed him and I couldn't see him go hungry. In most rural areas, children's deaths went unreported. Typhoid, dysentery, hookworm, and pellagra were epidemic.
I'm Oprah Winfrey, and when I was a little girl, homework was always a chore, and it may still be for a lot of kids, not their favorite thing, but for latchkey children attending Save the Children's after-school program in Dallas, homework is always done in a happy, relaxed, and supervised environment conducive to learning. From education and recreation to healthcare and housing, Save the Children works directly with families and communities to meet the needs of children living in poverty. Finding local solutions to local problems in partnership with local organizations. That is what Save the Children's community development programs are about.
If I had a heart condition or kidney or cancer, this is accepted by the world. But anything to do with the most complex aspect of the human being, there's a mystique and a fear.
It was difficult for people to appear on this program. People with psychiatric disabilities are just coming out of the closet. Rex Altemeyer was able to share his reason for going public.
I have my own experience with mental illness. I've been living with mental illness for 12 years in various phases.
And what is your diagnosis, if you don't mind telling me?
At one time, I've been diagnosed as having schizophrenia.
The 80s were troubling years of hardship for many American families. For low-income single mothers and children, the 90s promise little more. Nowhere are the challenges greater than in our inner cities, where drugs, crime, and hopelessness rob children of the joys of childhood.
Even though our society is late in coming to the realization that this is an extraordinarily important time of life that has to be lived fully, there is one way to do that I know, and it is through the intelligence, the sensitivity, and the spirituality of hospice.
Suspend yourself in space and listen to the sounds of planet Earth. Sounds of conflict, discord, anger, fear, pain. Sounds which overwhelm a faint, insistent cry which we do not hear unless we listen. The cry of a child, one child out of all the many millions. Almost 15 million children died needlessly every year. Children who can be saved, 40,000 every day. We can be immobilized by the immensity of the tragedy. The numbers of lost children become just numbers. There is no way to count the multitudes of the other lost children, lost in hopeless poverty and ignorance. Rescue can only be a reprieve. The family and the community must develop the resources and skills needed to nurture and educate the children.